This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Okay, I wanted to do a video on when to change strings because I think, I don't know, if you're newish to guitar or maybe there's some things you've not figured out yet. It took me a while to figure out quite a lot of this stuff, but we often, see people talk about strings, and I used the Dario strings. They actually sent me a bunch of strings because in this video I wanted to try something very specific. I used to use 11s. So I've got a big set of these, which I bought from a friend's music shop. So this is kind of designed for like guitar techs and stuff like that. So there's 25 sets of 11 to 49 gauge strings in there, and I used to carry around this sort of thing. I now use 10s, which is one set down from there, because I got like a sponsorship or whatever you would call it, a string deal with a company that didn't make 11s yet. So I then moved down to 10s. That's where I've stuck, even though I stopped working with that company. I still use 10s. So I tend to not change strings too often. So what I'm talking about here is a few things. So first of all, actually, when is it time to change strings? If you're finding that your guitar is not intonating super well, that's a really good sign. Or you're feeling like this guitar feels like, when I play in certain places it's super out of tune, or something like that. that's a really good sign that it's time to change strings. Because as strings kind of get older, they get dirtier. You do things like boil them if you're really into that sort of thing, but I've never actually tried that. I think Eddie Van Halen talked about doing it a couple of times. But I think generally just replace with some new strings, and actually you find, I personally find, that does most of the work of getting your guitar playing to back how it was when you last had it set up. I think that's a little bit of a thing that it took me a while to realise. I used to get guitars set up by local kind of music shops because I think the intonation is drifting on this. Actually, it could just be that you need to replace strings. These strings have been on this guitar for ages. So also, if your guitar has been left in its case unplayed for a while, that tends to, for me, decrease the life of the strings because it kind of sits with some gunk and stuff on it, kind of corroding. What I find is that if I actually leave guitars on a stand and play them, they last way, way better. So it's normally when I've sat a guitar not being played for a while that I really need to change strings. I don't know if that's the same for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you have different opinions on that. So that's kind of what I look for is A, has this guitar been sat for a long time? Or B, is it playing a bit funny? So what I also like to do is kind of rub the underside of the string and get any gunk off of there. So you find like sort of rust and finger dirt kind of starts to collect under there. So I like to kind of just wipe that off. You can use like an old pair of boxers or a new pair of boxers or like a sock or something, or you could get an actual, I don't know, cloth for that sort of thing. But I find that old boxers work fine. They don't even have to be clean. Sorry, it's a bit gross. Then what I wanted to try here is actually more kind of health related, and less than tone or anything like that. So, you know, we talk about, you know, thicker guitar strings and heavier guitar strings being maybe the way to go because of people like SRV. Well, SRV actually didn't live that long, right? Or not long enough necessarily to really think, or I don't know, he was unfortunate, wasn't he, right? But some of us, as we start to get a little bit older, and maybe this is you watching this or something, will start to recognise that your kind of body is changing over time. You're getting hair in places that you didn't used to have it. No, but what I really mean is that hand health is like an actual thing. And this would be, for me, something I would consider changing strings from. Now, I'm going to try 8s today on this guitar for the first time because it's the thing I've heard Keith from 5 Watt World say that he uses. Now, I guess Keith is like my dad's age, and I think it's that age where I'd be considering that this sort of thing would be ideal for. So I'm not personally going to advocate you changing strings because of health or whatever, or tell you what you should do with your life. But for me, what I'm thinking is that I'm going to stay on 10s for as long as my hands will allow me. This is before making this video. And that as my body eventually kind of starts to go into decline, I'm 35 now, it's not going to be long, that I'm going to use kind of different gauge strings to get more out of them. Now, what I've recently learned, I got sent some of these by not just Dario, but Chris actually sent me a set as well. Between 10 and 9, so when I was a kid, I always thought it was like you could get 9s, you could get 10s, you could get like hybrid sets and stuff like that. But actually, I think it's been quite a while that in-between sets have been available. So what I would do, and I guess it's sort of like a diet or something like that as well, and I would consider going from 10s, and if I was starting to get some kind of aches in my hand, maybe I'd move to 9.5s and see how I get on with that. And as time goes on, move from 9.5s to 9s. Maybe I live long enough where I need to move from 8.5s. I've actually got a set of 8.5s here. X Super Light Plus, they're called. And then eventually, maybe if I'm really lucky, I'll live a while, I put us on a set of 8s. I'm going to try a set of 8s today, and I've got an NYXL, which is like their coated set, right? But let's just try the basic 8s. That's what I'm going to go with, because I think, yeah, for me, it's about tension in this hand. And then on this hand as well, it's also about tension as well. Like heavier strings, you can sort of dig into the string more. It's got more kind of headroom. And then also for stability with the left hand, it's better as well, whilst I've still got strength in this hand. Over time, I'm going to guess that starts to change if you get things like arthritis. I've recently got a blackthorn stuck in my joint, and so I've had some experience now of what it might be like to have a bit of a more challenging time playing the guitar. It's kind of interesting to me, kind of eye-opening. But yeah, that's how I'm thinking about it. And now I'm going to put these on and see how we go. In my gig bag, I carry around a set of these because almost all of my guitars have these vintage, machine heads. And so the first step when stringing them, these are actually fantastic, I think. A really incredible design. Quite stable, easy to string up, and I think my favourite kind of design of machine head that I've tried. So we've got the E and the A. Right. That's an A string. And what I do is kind of chop about 2 inches past. I've done that on too short, haven't I? Because that's an A string. Whoops. I've never actually owned a string winder. Maybe I'll show you some playing on this bit to stretch these strings out. I think that's right, isn't it? Brass is the E. Red is the A, so this is the brass. Go in. If you've got a child like I have, it's probably a better idea to actually not just chuck the strings on the floor. But we'll pick these up later. Definitely strung that bit wrong. So I like to first wind go like this, so you're putting pressure on it so that it goes underneath, and then puts the pressure on the top of the wind. Don't know if other people do that in a different way. That's what I find works for me. So like all of the wind should go under. I'll clearly cop that up. So if I unwind a sec, put that under. Going under like the evanescence knot. Just tuck it like that. That's the other thing with these types of machine heads, you can kind of fix problems with your string in a way that some others can't. Right. And by doing this, like pointing here, you can kind of hold it in place, the string, so it doesn't slip out for the first couple of winds. There must be some tricks that I've uploaded how to change strings properly. I should probably watch one of them. The only slight concern is that maybe these lighter strings pull out of this sort of arrangement easier. I found as I get older that I don't really break strings anymore for some reason. I did used to break them a bit more as a kid, but I guess that maybe I was doing more kind of strummy stuff. These days I use like a 1.5mm pick, also from Didario, the Black Ice, and yeah, it's normally, or quite often, like during tuning that a string might break, or like if it's an old guitar, not really the case that I break them during playing much. Otherwise you'd occasionally see me breaking strings like on camera, which doesn't really, it's happened very few times, and obviously I spend a lot of time playing on camera, so I wouldn't do this with a guitar that is kind of my main thing, because obviously change to 8s is a little bit of an extreme change from 10s. So let's tune her up. Then I like to kind of stretch the strings out a bit like this before playing. Okay, so the first thought is that it's actually not as drastically awful feeling. As I thought. I think the main difference that I'm feeling For the chord stuff, I'm quite liking it. Sounds quite funny. I should probably wait for the strings to settle in a bit more, but yeah, for the bends you can go. It's not bad. So yeah, this is what I'm thinking. I think it's confirmed to me that right now 8s aren't the way that I need to go, but I would absolutely be thinking about this as a thing that as my body starts to age, that I can drop string gauges. I think this has confirmed that for me. I'm going to try and record an intro now once the strings are settled, and we'll see how we get on. Have you tried 8s? Do you get on with them? Do you use 8s? Your favourite players who used 8s as well. Alan Holdsworth for me. I think Billy Gibbons is an 8 guy. Is Jimmy Page an 8 guy? I think there's quite a few of them that have done it over the years, and they sound fine on it.